I went from this to this in 9 months. Stick around to find out how. Hello everyone, semi-retired Bob here. I talk about the carnivore diet, all things related to the carnivore diet, and some miscellaneous odds and ends. Today we're going to talk about why diets fail. But first, if you're new to the channel, let me say welcome. I'm glad you're here. You may be asking yourself, Bob, what in the world am I watching here? Well, you're watching me walk. I know that doesn't seem super exciting, but if you consider just about 10 months ago, I couldn't do this. I could barely stand for 2 to 2.5 minutes at a time. And here I am walking every day. And for this month, my March challenge, with the exception of 2 travel days I have planned, I'm going to try and get to 15,000 steps every day. Which, it varies with stride length and things like that. I'm not sure how the whole calculation of my watch does it, but it's been averaging about 6.25 miles a day, which is not a huge increase from what I've been doing, but it is an increase. And doing it every day will be a big increase over the month. Now I do try to come up with some interesting things to talk about. Some days I do okay with that, some days not so much. But I do try to keep you entertained at least a little bit while you watch me walk. For those of you returning to the channel, welcome back. I'm glad you're here. Before I forget, I put a post up on Facebook and I put it on the community tab of the channel, but I wanted to say it in a video. Due to unforeseen scheduling conflicts, the walk with Bob that I'd planned on rescheduling for March the 11th, which is this coming Saturday, is canceled. Sorry about that, guys. I just can't get it in. And because of traveling back to Ohio to visit Mom while Janet goes on vacation, and then heading back to Omaha, I'm just not going to be able to have a little gathering down here in North Carolina this year. But I am still planning one for the Omaha area sometime this summer. I'm shooting for just a few days before maybe even just the day before the big Omaha conference. I forget what it's called, but there's a keto conference in Omaha. And I'm hoping if I have mine maybe 1 or 2 days before that starts, some of you that were going to travel in for the Omaha conference might come in a day or two early. It's not going to be a huge deal, but what I think we're going to do is go out to Standing Bear Lake and walk around that. I think it's about 3.5 miles all the way around the lake, but it's a pretty good paved trail, so it shouldn't be too tough. And then we're going to go over to the miniature golf course that I've worked at for 30 plus years and get Dave to grill us hamburgers and hot dogs. Maybe just hamburgers. We'll see. But that's the general plan now. I haven't even talked to Dave about it, but I'm sure he'll do it. But that's what's coming up. But the long and the short of it is this Saturday's Walk with Bob event is canceled. Now let's get on to it. Why diets fail. And if you're like me, in age, you've tried just about every diet that's been out there, and none of them work, or at least none of them worked for you. And let me start this by saying it's not your fault. It didn't fail because you were weak, or it didn't fail because you had no willpower. You were just given bad advice and bad information. It's not your fault. But as Dr. Barry would say, now we're in this situation where it's not really our fault, but it is our problem. So now we got to figure out how to get things back on track. The biggest reason most diets fail, and I've talked about this before, is the semi-starvation diet. Any sort of calorie restriction is a semi-starvation diet. You might do okay for a little while, go along, you're starting to lose some weight, but then you start to have some problems. Your metabolism slows down, so now to get the same results you have to restrict what you're eating even more. And that just kind of snowballs. It keeps on snowballing. And for those of you who think, well, eat less, move more, that always works. I'm sure you guys have heard of Ancel Keys. The work he did on convincing the world that fat was bad and sugar is good was later, when that evil study came out. Prior to that, back in the 1940s, he did an actually fairly good scientific study where he took some people that didn't want to go off to fight in the war and said, well, you can serve your country by taking part in this study. And he put them on what he called at the time a severely calorie restricted diet. And I don't remember all the exact numbers, but a lot of the people started developing problems very quickly. They developed eating disorders. Their moods got worse. They started to develop mental issues. And of course, when you're eating some sort of semi-starvation diet, you start to crave food. And their cravings got worse and worse and worse. And in fact, if I remember right, 2 of them went on after the study, had gotten so addicted to food, they became chefs. The important part of this little piece of the discussion is the severe calorie restriction diet that he put them on just to see what would happen. Was 1,600 calories a day. So stop and think about that for a few minutes. And this plays back into what we were talking about the other day, people not eating enough. Another thing that can happen when you're on a calorie restricted diet of some sort is you end up with vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And those begin to work against you because your body's a very smart machine. As you start to run short on something, your body will let you know that you're short on something by giving you a craving. And the craving gets louder and louder and louder. And eventually, you're going to give into it and you're going to eat. And that's the problem with these semi-starvation diets, food restriction diets of any kind. Now, that's not the right way to say this. The energy restriction diets. Unless you're very careful about what you're eating and supplementing, you're going to develop some kind of deficiency. Now, I know what some of you are thinking too. You're saying, well, Bob, you're calling this the Carnivore Diet, and yet you're telling us that diets don't work. Diets in the current definition of that term. Because diet is the nutrition we take in. What we eat is our diet. Which is why I like to say, besides Carnivore Diet, I like to say that this is a way of eating, a way of life. Because it's not just a quick fix weight loss hack. Although I have lost a lot of weight very fast. And it's not just a healing diet. Although I have healed many things. The Carnivore Diet eliminates all the junk that you've been polluting your system with, so that your body can return to its normal metabolic state. And the body's an amazing machine. If you get out of your own way, it'll fix itself in most cases. There are some things that you do with diets, bad diets, that can permanently damage your metabolism. Hopefully none of you have run into any of that. Another reason diets fail is because they're not really a diet. They're just a vehicle for selling you shakes and bars and meals. Now let me be perfectly clear here. I'm not talking about keto chow. If I did keto rather than carnivore, that's probably one of the first things I'd buy, because I love their daily minerals. And I've heard many great things about their shake products. Of course, there's many different ways to mix it up. But most of these companies, who I won't name, you know who I'm talking about. They have shakes and bars and ready-made meals and meal replacement bars. And if you look at the ingredients on them, it's obvious that this is just big food trying to get their slice of the keto pie. Because these big companies that sell these things, they don't care if you achieve your goals or don't achieve your goals. Their goal is to enhance their bottom right-hand corner on the balance sheet. That's what they care about. One of the big ones, everyone's always saying, eat less, move more. It's thermodynamics, though. It's just simple thermodynamics. Well, first of all, none of the laws, and that is plural, there's 4 of them, mean what people think they mean. The bottom line is that on the laws of thermodynamics, they are very, very simple and explicit. Not simple, but they are explicit to how things react in a closed thermodynamic system. The human body is not a closed thermodynamic system. So the one that everybody that says eat more, move less, or eat less, move more, says, they talk about the first rule of thermodynamics. And that is explicitly dealing with a closed thermodynamic system. It has to do with how much heat energy release does it take to raise the temperature of water inside a bomb calorimeter. I believe it's 1 degree Celsius. I'm no expert, because I don't need to be. The laws of thermodynamics do not apply to human beings. We're an open system. Every little thing we come in contact with affects all sorts of different things, from our heat, body temperature, how much we're currently using energy-wise. Even sitting in a chair, the fabric of the chair on your backside, whether it's a warming cloth or a cooling cloth or what kind of fabric it is, can change what is happening inside your body. So anybody that simply, comes on and says, well, it's just simple thermodynamics, you can stop listening to them right away, because that's bad advice. I've listed a lot of other stuff, eating too often, eating too little, all that kind of stuff, and go into eating too often in a video here soon. I'm not going to say tomorrow, because I may change my mind and make a different video. But I've saved this one for last, because I really think this is the biggest reason diets fail. I've talked about this many, many times on my channel. And it's the same reason why people can have problems on keto, ketovore, and carnivore. The measure by which success is measured is people are putting too much emphasis on the scale. Well, if I didn't lose any weight this week, this diet's a failure. That's the wrong way to think about it, and it puts you in a bad mental place to where you believe it's not working, you give it up, and you go on to the next thing. Each week, I think the main thing that you should be focused on is, do I feel better today than I did a week ago? That's the number one thing you need to keep your eyes on. How do you feel? Now, if you're one of these numbers tracking people and you just gotta know, go ahead and jump on the scale once a week so that you have your numbers to go on. Measure yourself, around the chest, around the thighs, around the arms, so that you've got some hard numbers to look at. But understand that you're just using those as more things to look at. The weight, your weight, the amount of gravity you are exerting on that scale should not be your main motivator. And let's face it, when we talk about losing weight, what we really are saying is we want to lose fat. Because nobody ever says, I want to lose muscle. Nobody ever says, I want to lose bone density, so the next time a stiff breeze comes by, I break bones. Nobody ever says, I want to chew up all the connective tissue and cartilage in my body so that things don't work right. No, we're talking about losing fat. What we want to do is we want to lose fat. And the number one way to keep your eye on the ball with whatever diet you're trying is to realize that all of these measuring things are just a tool that you may or may not use. But it is not the primary purpose, the primary guide. The primary guide should be, how do I feel? And if you keep that in mind, you'll have much more success. But yeah, all the diets with cakes and cookies and eat less, move more, focusing on really hard exercise, all that stuff, they're just destined to fail. For most people. Now, there are some people that do okay with that kind of stuff. More power to them. But most of the people that eat less, move more, works for, are young and healthy. They've never actually experienced a 50 or 60 plus year old's metabolic dysfunction. They don't know. They just don't know yet. They will. They'll find out as they get older. And then they're going to sit down and wonder why their eat less, move more doesn't work anymore. Then perhaps they'll find out But that, I believe, is what I wanted to talk to you about today. Because at church I have a lot more walking to do today. Luckily I got about 16,500 steps in on Friday and almost 17,000 steps yesterday. So I have a little leeway to not quite get 15,000. I'm still planning on trying to get there, but we'll see what happens because I mean, here it is, it's already almost 4 in the afternoon because church is over. Of course, I had church all day today. And here comes the last bus back in from taking kids home. So at this point, rather than walking over there where all the noise is going to be, I'm going to stand over here and I'm going to say, don't forget to get out there, be 1% better today. Have a great day, everyone. I will see you tomorrow.